Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I was 43 when I realized you can know someone's laugh by heart and still have no idea what they're capable of. I don't mean that in a movie way where the neighbor is secretly running a cartel. I mean the smaller, dumber kind of betrayal, the kind that grows in the cracks between holidays and inside jokes until it's big enough to shove the furniture around. My name is Tom. I sell HVAC systems, which means half my life is climbing into crawl spaces in houses that smell like old carpet and cat food while trying to make small talk about energy efficiency. My wife, ex-wife, as of a month from now, Rebecca, is a pediatric nurse who can thread in 4 while asking a 5-year-old about dinosaurs like she's getting paid extra for being kind. We have a 15-year-old son, Noah, who's tall enough now to hand me things off the top shelf and roll his eyes while saving my back a visit to a chiropractor. For 10 years our orbit included Jack and Lisa, a couple we met at a block party that somehow turned into family. Jack sells cars with the kind of smile you build a vacation around. Lisa is a high school counselor who has mastered the art of nodding in full paragraphs. They have a daughter, Mia, a year younger than Noah, and a son, Wyatt, who grows out of shoes like it's a sport. We did the American Suburban Alliance thing, every 4th of July together. Friendsgiving that got more friend than giving as the years went on, joint camping trips where we pretended to love sleeping on the ground, kids' birthday parties with bounce houses that made us all pray for liability waivers. We traded dog sitting, tools, and casseroles. We knew each other's garage codes. That's the level, if you're wondering. At some point in year 7 of our little alliance, I started describing Jack and Lisa as our best friends, and no one corrected me. They were at Noah's band concerts, sitting on the metal bleachers pretending the gym acoustics weren't a threat to humanity. We were at their kids' soccer games, learning 20 different ways to shout "Good hustle" while holding coffee like a handle to sanity. There's a picture on our fridge of the 6 of us at the lake, sunburned and smug in the way only adults get when they accidentally enjoy themselves at the same time. I tell you all that so you understand that when I say the floor gave way, it wasn't just under my house. It was under 2 houses, 3 kids, 4 adults, 13 holidays, and approximately 41 casseroles. I didn't discover anything obvious. There was no hotel receipt folded into a purse, no lipstick on a collar, nothing cinematic. There was just a slow drift. Rebecca got lighter. Not happy, the word is wrong. Brighter, like a light that finds a corner it likes and stays there. She'd laugh at texts and tilt the screen away. Not dramatically, just enough that my mirror neurons learned a new flinch. She picked up running again, set an early alarm, and came back smelling like eucalyptus and subtext. "Jack's really gotten into morning runs," she said once, offhand, in the kitchen. "The way you say, traffic was weird. We keep each other honest." She said it with a smile that was supposed to be about discipline. It landed like a note left on my windshield. If you're waiting for me to say I confronted her then, I didn't. I made a lot of dad noises about cardio and cholesterol and bought new socks like a man preparing for a battle he planned to conduct with cotton. That's the thing about a comfortable life. You can ignore the termites if the deck still holds. Lisa, on the other hand, got quieter. Not in a hurt way. In a braced way. She'd text on my way to a potluck and then arrive 5 minutes early like it was morally important to be on time. She'd stand next to me at the grill and ask about Noah's AP classes and glance across the yard when Rebecca and Jack laughed at something that didn't make a sound on our side of the lawn. Spring turned to summer, and we did what we always do when heat makes our brains simple. We planned a backyard barbecue. Hamburgers, hot dogs, corn on the cob, macaroni salad, a fruit tray someone would pretend to like. We invited the usual suspects, neighbors with lawn obsessions, Lisa's cousin who is always between jobs and between stories, my buddy Phil from work who brings the good beer because he wants to believe he's the guy who brings the good beer. Both families, both houses, one grill. The day before the barbecue, the thing happened that made the rest of it inevitable. Noah came into the living room after biking around the neighborhood with Wyatt and Mia. He had the look he gets when he's about to try a joke he thinks might be mean. "Random question," he said, attempting lightness and failing. "Why is Aunt Becca?" Noah has called Lisa Aunt Lisa and Rebecca Aunt Becca in a kid way since he was little. The names stuck like nicknames do in families that aren't technically families. Why is Aunt Becca at Uncle Jack's a lot during the day? Rebecca was in the kitchen rinsing grapes like they'd offended her. She didn't flinch. I did. "What do you mean a lot?" I asked, careful, because the floor has different load limits when there are teenagers in the room. Mia said, Noah said, and looked toward the stairs, like he was already reconsidering borrowing trouble. "I dunno. It's probably nothing. Just, like, she comes by when Aunt Lisa's at work still." "It's just," Mia said. She asked why, and Uncle Jack said he was helping with, he waved a hand. "Something with the garage shelf." "But like, 3 times? 4? I mean, Uncle Jack, as you know, he can't even find tape." Rebecca dried her hands on a dish towel and came into the doorway with a neutral face. She's good at that face, the one she uses at the hospital when a parent wants to fight in 4, and they both need to be right for different reasons. "It's no big deal," she said. "Jack needed help with the kids when Lisa had a late day. We're friends. Friends help." I said okay because teenagers are listening for the sounds adults make when adults are pretending to be statues. Noah accepted okay the way kids do when they've learned the word doesn't always mean agreement. The moment passed the way a cloud passes the sun. The temperature didn't change back. Lisa arrived early to the barbecue. She brought a pasta salad that could feed a minor league team and a 6-pack of seltzer labeled for me. She stood in our kitchen while Rebecca arranged a tray of burger toppings with the intensity of a surgeon and said, "Do you need me to slice the tomatoes?" Her voice had that thin thread in it, the one people get when they're managing something bigger than the task in front of them. Jack strolled in late with his affable apology already on medium heat. He's a man who can look sheepish and charming at the same time, which is almost a disorder. He hugged Noah, asked about marching band like he remembers the schedule, kissed Lisa on the temple, and held eye contact with Rebecca 1 beat too long. These are small beats. They add up if you measure them. I fired up the grill and did the dance I always do, meat on the left, veggies on the right, buns off heat, flare-ups as entertainment, Phil doing commentary about sear marks like there's a stadium. The kids played cornhole in the side yard and argued about rules because children are just trial lawyers with sunscreen. The adults stood in laugh clusters, drinking out of cans and trying not to say political words. Normal. Then Mia drifted toward the patio where Lisa was trying to coax a tablecloth into staying on a table that had never been asked to be festive. "Mom," Mia said, loud enough for normal but not for broadcast. "Can I go with Aunt Becky to get ice?" Lisa glanced at Rebecca. "Are you going to the store?" She smiled the way we smile at children when we want there to be a yes. Rebecca said, "I can," and looked at me, which was new. We never needed permission for ice. We have a fridge with an ice maker that works most days. The store is 2 minutes away. It was a nothing decision that suddenly had weight. "I'll go," Jack said too quickly. "I need charcoal." Which was interesting because there was a fresh, unopened bag by the grill. Phil noticed and looked at me with that side smile men use when they don't want to intrude but also want to be good at noticing. "No," Lisa said, casual and not casual. "I'll go with you, Beck." She set down the tablecloth, picked up her keys, and was out the door with Rebecca before anyone could vote. I flipped a burger and watched the door like it might tell me who I am when I am not guessing. When they came back, Lisa's eyes had the red around them that comes from either wind or crying. It wasn't windy. Rebecca had that neutral face again, turned up a click. They put ice in the cooler and acted like they were saving a party from melting. I did the grill thing and people cheered for food like food ever disappoints. We made it through dinner on momentum. Plastic forks clanked. Noah and Mia traded bites of corn with the forced intimacy of kids who used to share everything without thinking. Wyatt spilled lemonade and apologized in a way that suggests he's over-apologized before. Lisa kept moving, refilling drinks, collecting plates, wiping the imaginary. Jack told a story about a customer who wanted a car color that can best be described as unresolved trauma. And then, because kids are both kinder and crueler than we give them credit for, it happened. "Wyatt, Den, earnest, catastrophic," said to Lisa, loud enough for the adults to hear and the kids to interpret. "Mom, why does Aunt Becca go to her house when you're at work?" Mia said she saw her. "Is Aunt Becca going to help fix the shelf again?" The entire backyard did that thing living rooms do in movies where someone pulls a plug. No sound. Even the bugs paused. Noah looked at me, then at Rebecca, and then at Mia, whose face cycled through denial, horror, and something like relief. Jack's smile misfired, and you could see the gears in his head try to throw a different party. "Bud," he said to Wyatt, practicing the gentle correction voice, "remember how we talked about privacy?" "Yes," Wyatt said. "But you said it was helping with the shelf." Lisa set down the stack of plates she was pretending to need both hands for. She looked at me. Then at Rebecca. Then at Jack. Then back at me. She took a breath that sounded like a person laying something heavy on a table. "We're not doing this in whispers," she said, and her voice didn't shake. "I can't. Not anymore." "Lisa," Jack began, but she held up a hand and the hand worked like a stop sign. "Tom," she said, and I felt all the blood in my body go for a walk. "I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to lose this." She gestured at the yard like this had a simpler definition last summer. I told myself it would stop. That people make mistakes and then let it pass. That was a lie I told to protect everyone except the truth. "Lisa," Rebecca said, and her voice did the thing voices do when they're trying to arrange facts into a shape that looks like mercy. "Let's talk inside." "No," Lisa said. "No more inside." She turned to Jack. "Tell him." She turned to Rebecca. "Tell him. Or I will." Jack stood there with his hands open like he was about to catch something he'd dropped. Rebecca stared at the grill, which had gone quiet in the way things do when they refuse to participate. Noah put his hand on the back of a chair and I watched him translate adults into a language he could either live in or run from. "Fine," Lisa said into the silence. She looked at me and her eyes were clear in a way that told me the seltzer had been a plan. They've been seeing each other. I don't know how long because every time I asked I downgraded it to too long so I could sleep. I told myself it would end. It didn't. I should have told you, Tom. I'm sorry I didn't. I didn't do it to be kind. I did it because I was afraid. You know, in those nature shows, where the herd hears a rustle and everyone looks up at the same time and nobody runs until one animal decides which way. That was our yard. Neighbors turned their heads over the fence in a way that made me want to become my least favorite version of myself. Phil put his beer down like it could carry some weight. Mia sat very still, a statue built out of a kid who had been asked to keep a secret that was too heavy to be carried by any human being. Jack started with a sentence he must have been practicing. "Tom, his voice cracked, which should have helped him and somehow didn't. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to get caught," I said, and discovered that my calm voice is scarier than my loud one. "The rest you meant." Rebecca opened her mouth. I lifted a hand. "I am not often that man. I was then." "No speeches," I said. "No lost or confused or lonely paragraphs. You can write those to your therapist." I took a breath because oxygen is a thing you should accept when it's free. "You did this in the middle of all of us. You used our kids as camouflage. You asked them to be dumber than they are. You recruited errands and shelves and the word help to do your lying." Noah's face was new to me. Not because of the expression, it was pain, and I know that one, but because he looked like a person who suddenly had to carry his own weight, and mine, and the part of the world that collapses when someone you love moves the line and then pretends the line was always there. Wyatt started to cry, loud and messy in the way that makes adults feel helpless and kids want to run. Mia put her arm around him and whispered something that sounded like, "It's not your job." I will love her for that sentence forever. I realized then that I was in charge of the rest of this moment. Not because I wanted to be, or deserved to be, or knew what to do. Because when the house is on fire and there are children inside, you start moving them toward the door even if the door is not the door you would have designed in an ideal world. "Okay," I said, and clapped my hands once because men are stupid about closure and sometimes it works. "Party's over. Adults to their corners. Kids inside with the dog. Lisa, you and the kids can stay. Jack, you're leaving." He flinched like I'd struck him. "Rebecca, you're going with Lisa into the kitchen. You're going to call your mother. You're going to call your sister. You're going to make your own phone tree. Noah, inside. Now." He went, and it almost broke me, The way obedience looks on a child who just had to watch the scaffolding he trusted fall down. Jack said my name again like he was auditioning for a better role. I shook my head. He left, eventually, after trying to hug a kid who didn't want him and trying to say a thing he'd already used up. The gate clicked behind him like a period. Inside, the house was too bright. Wyatt Hiccup cried into a dish towel. Mia sat at the table with both elbows on the wood, not caring about coasters for the first time in her life. Noah stood at the sink, staring at the faucet like he wanted it to confess. The dog whined because dogs hate raised voices and mixed messages. Lisa leaned against the counter and let her whole weight exist against something that would hold it. Rebecca kept busy, stacking, wiping, moving as if motion could turn the clock back. I made hot chocolate like a sitcom dad because my brain needed an activity that wasn't violence. I handed mugs to kids who pretended it helped and probably were correct when they later said it didn't. We put on a movie no one watched. Phil floated through like a benevolent ghost and took the grill brush to the grate because some men should be canonized without the politics. Later, when the kids were upstairs folding and unfolding the same blankets to give their hands an assignment, Lisa and I sat at the table and did the math. 2 houses. 2 schedules. 1 friendship that, in the moment, felt like a staged photo I could never look at again. "I should have told you," she said, the million-dollar sentence that behaves like it's worth more than $1 but can't be cashed. I kept thinking if I tell him, I ruin everything. If I don't, maybe it goes away. "It doesn't go away," I said. "It just gets named later, and bigger." She nodded, looking at the wood grain. "I'm leaving him," she said then, plain. "I've been thinking about it for months. But I didn't want it to be because of this. I wanted to be brave on a day that wasn't borrowed." She laughed once, sharp. "I guess today's on me." "You don't have to decide tonight," I said. "I already decided," she said. "I'm just saying it to someone who heard me." Rebecca came back into the room with a face that looked like she'd put it together from the parts that hadn't shaken loose. She started, and she meant it. "I don't doubt that. But meaning something doesn't undo the physics." "No," I said, gently this time, because cruelty is Lizzie and I am trying not to be lazy. "We're done for tonight. Noah and I are sleeping at my sister's. Lisa, you and the kids stay here. Rebecca, call your mom. Tell her where you are. We'll talk tomorrow with lawyers and daylight and the version of ourselves that can hold a pen without pretending it's a sword." We did that. We did all of that. Lawyers in offices that smell like coffee and carpet squares, words like custody and equitable distribution and temporary orders, the ceremony of ending something with a series of signatures that make you feel like you're signing your name on water. Noah went to a counselor who told him that grown-ups can love you and still be villains in other people's stories, and that is not your job to fix. Mia started seeing someone too, and I watched her stand a little taller when she walked into our house 3 weeks later and asked if we had any snacks that aren't despair. Lisa filed papers. Jack moved into an apartment by the highway that smells like hallway and second chances. Rebecca moved into the guest room at her sister's while we scheduled Mercy on a calendar. The kids built new muscles, packing backpacks for 2 houses, remembering whose algebra book lives were, deciding our group chat should stay intact because it was ours before it was yours, Mia said, and I agreed because she is smarter than most adults I know. I don't know what forgiveness is supposed to look like yet. People ask, and I tell them forgiveness is a porch light. You can leave it on or off. You can replace the bulb. You can sit in the dark and call it a choice. Right now, mine's a motion sensor, it flickers on sometimes when it shouldn't and blinds me. Then it goes off and I remember I prefer lamps to dramatic lighting. Jack texted me 3 weeks after the barbecue, a paragraph that used every word in the apology dictionary and still felt like bubble wrap. I didn't respond. Not because I want him to suffer. Because some bridges can't hold 2 people at once across the chasm they made. Lisa sent me a picture of her new place, smaller, brighter, messy in the honest way. I brought over a toolbox and installed a curtain rod like a ritual. She cried at nothing and then something and then at the end, at the part where endings look like beginnings but feel like an after. Noah and I started a dumb tradition on Thursdays. We drive to a diner with cracked vinyl booths and order breakfast for dinner and don't talk about divorce unless one of us wants to. We rate pancakes on a 10-point scale with criteria that change weekly. We've decided that syrup should be warm and gratuitous. We've decided that butter tastes better when you pretend it's not shaped like a flower. Summer became fall the way seasons do when a family is suddenly older than it was. The trees burned red in our neighborhood, and I let myself like it. I spent one Saturday cleaning the garage with Noah, hauling boxes labeled summer, Halloween, and a mysterious miscellaneous that turned out to be a time capsule of athletic equipment and guild. We found the broken shelf. He laughed at that. "I'll fix it," he said. "You know. When I have time." We laughed until we didn't. There's a picture still on my fridge of the 6 of us at the lake. I haven't taken it down. Not because I'm nostalgic for the lie, maybe we were lying then, maybe we weren't. I keep it because the first part of the sentence happened. We were happy. We were sunburned and smug. Our kids were smaller and thought grown-ups had access to a secret book of answers. Now they know we don't. That is its own gift. Sometimes I run into Jack at the grocery store, the section with the rotisserie chickens and the music that assumes you want to remember college. He looks smaller. I greet him. Sometimes he starts to talk and then stops, because there are only so many times you can say a thing before it stops sounding like the truth or a lie and just sounds like hair. Lisa and I high-five in parking lots when we coordinate kid pickup without texting. Rebecca and I use a shared calendar like diplomats and speak politely because that's the civilization Noah deserves. On nights when the house is quiet and I am tempted to re-argue a scene where I was either too cruel or not cruel enough, I stand in the doorway of Noah's room and listen to him sleep the way I used to when he was little and the world felt like it could be kept out with a baby gate. He snores now, just a little, like an older dog. It calms me in a way I didn't expect. It is proof of continuity. He breathes. I breathe. Tomorrow there will be algebra and trash day and a dentist appointment and an email I don't want to write. Life is the tyranny of small tasks and the mercy of them too. I don't have a moral. If I did, I'd sell it to my HVAC customers with extended warranties. I have observations. People will betray you in ways that make sense to them in the moment. Your job is not to understand the parts that don't. Your job is to do the dishes, make a plan, tell the truth to teenagers in sentences that don't end in ellipses, and keep the grill clean for the next time you decide to risk believing people can gather and not hurt each other on purpose. This weekend, Noah asked if we could still have a barbecue. "Just us," he said. "And maybe Lisa and the kids. If that's not weird." I said yes. We did burgers and corn and the same stupid macaroni salad we make because I refuse to admit I'm bad at it. Mia brought over a playlist that avoided songs with memories in them like she had a sixth sense. Wyatt beat us all at cornhole and didn't gloat, which means he's becoming a person I'd follow anywhere. Lisa and I took out the trash without making ceremony out of it. The dog got a hot dog because he's old and I'm soft. The sun went down and I stood at the grill and watched the smoke go up and not in, and it felt like a good metaphor but I didn't try too hard to make it one. Noah bumped my shoulder and said, "These are the best burgers you've ever made," with the sincerity only 15-year-olds can fake when they decide adults need saving. I pretended to believe him. Maybe I do. We sat and ate and talked about nothing on purpose, and every once in a while the wind moved through the yard and the porch light flicked on even though nobody had walked past the sensor, and I thought, that seems about right. Sometimes light is motion. Sometimes it's mercy. Sometimes it's just a bulb doing its job. I can live with that. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.